The position of presence is not about where your body is, but where your mind lives when you are with someone. Too often, we confuse intimacy with movement, passion with performance, and connection with chemistry. But what men truly crave, what they rarely articulate, is presence. It is the moment when you look into their eyes and they feel that you are there, not distracted by tomorrow's plans or yesterday's doubts, not measuring how you appear or what impression you're making. You are simply there, alive, attuned, and receptive. Presence is energy, and it has a frequency. You can sense when someone is fully tuned into you because time slows down. Words become unnecessary. The air feels charged with awareness. That's what real connection feels like. Two people completely locked into the same moment, breathing the same rhythm, and seeing each other without filters or pretenses. Presence begins before touch ever happens. It's in the way you listen, the way you notice, the way you bring your attention to the person in front of you as if nothing else exists. When a man feels that he doesn't just feel wanted, he feels chosen. He feels that in this instant, out of the entire world, he is the one you've decided to be with. Not out of habit, not out of need, but out of conscious choice. That awareness transforms ordinary closeness into sacred energy. It's not the technique that lingers in his memory. It's the moment he realized you were actually there with him, heart open and mind quiet. But presence is not passive. It's not sitting back and waiting for the other to lead. It's an active form of awareness. It means you're listening to more than words. You're reading emotion, energy, body language. You're responding intuitively to the shifts in mood and feeling that happen in real time. That's what makes an experience alive. Presence invites improvisation. It says, I am here with you, not performing for you. When that happens, there's no script, no need to prove, no anxiety about outcome. Both people become participants in something unfolding in the now. The reason presence is so powerful is because it's so rare. We live in a world addicted to distraction. Our minds wander, even in the most intimate settings. We think about what to say next, how we look, whether we're doing it right, whether we're enough. But presence dissolves all that. It pulls you out of the noise and into sensation. It quiets the inner critic and amplifies the inner connection. It's not about what you do. It's about how deeply you feel what you do. When you're present, even a glance can carry more electricity than 1,000 gestures performed half-heartedly. Men, despite their reputation for physicality, sense this more than they admit. They might not say, I want you to be present, but they crave it. They crave the feeling of being met, not just touched but felt. They crave the energy of a woman who isn't somewhere else in her head, but anchored right there in the moment, matching his breath, mirroring his attention, radiating focus that says, I see you. Presence transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary because it communicates a message that no words can. You matter here and now. And that's the position that every man deep down loves beyond anything physical, because it makes him feel not just desired, but known. Confidence is not loud. It does not announce itself. It emanates quietly, like warmth from sunlight. It's the invisible pulse that fills a room before you even speak. Confidence is what magnetizes attraction because it speaks the language of certainty, and certainty is rare. When you carry yourself with ease, when your gestures flow naturally and your words emerge from self-trust rather than self-doubt, something shifts in the dynamic between you and a man. It tells him that you are not seeking approval, you are sharing presence. You are not waiting to be chosen, you have already chosen yourself. And that, more than anything, captures attention. Men are instinctively drawn to energy that feels secure, not because it dominates, but because it doesn't need to. Confidence is the opposite of performance. It's not about perfect moves, it's about embodied comfort. It's knowing that you don't need to prove your worth through external validation. It's the tone of your voice when you speak your truth without apology. It's the way you express what you like, what you don't, what you desire, and what you will not tolerate. That kind of confidence sets the rhythm for the connection. It tells him that you are not performing a role, you are being real. Authenticity is intoxicating because it frees both people from pretending. A confident person doesn't need to impress, they invite. They create a space of ease where desire flows naturally, without effort or strategy. Confidence also communicates safety. When a man senses that you are comfortable with yourself, he relaxes. He doesn't feel like he's being tested or judged. Instead, he feels invited to be his fullest self. It's in that relaxed energy that genuine attraction grows. Many people mistake confidence for control, but true confidence doesn't control, it liberates, it gives permission. It says, you can meet me here as you are, without pretense. That kind of energy doesn't compete, it harmonizes. It doesn't need to win, it simply radiates wholeness. Confidence is not perfection, it's permission to be imperfect. It's not about flawless execution, it's about authentic expression. You can laugh at yourself, you can make mistakes, you can be playful without fear. Confidence is what allows vulnerability to become attractive instead of intimidating. It transforms awkward moments into opportunities for laughter and silence into something meaningful instead of uncomfortable. That's what men respond to. It's the energy of someone who doesn't need to be anyone else. The truth is, confidence begins long before any connection with another person. It's cultivated in the quiet moments when you learn to appreciate your own value, when you no longer measure yourself against someone else's expectations. It's the posture of someone who knows they bring something irreplaceable to the table. And that knowledge cannot be faked. It's in your eyes, your tone, your stillness. When you walk into a room with that energy, people feel it before you speak. Confidence becomes a form of gravity. It pulls others toward you effortlessly. It's not demanding attention, it's commanding it simply by being. That's why confidence is one of the positions all men love, because it invites connection built on equality, not insecurity. It allows desire to exist in its purest form, where two complete individuals meet not to fill each other's emptiness, but to expand each other's fullness. Appreciation is one of the most underestimated forces in human connection, yet it holds the power to transform the entire dynamic between two people. Every man, no matter how strong, independent, or self-assured he appears, carries an inner desire to feel seen and valued. Beyond his accomplishments, beyond his confidence, beyond his ability to provide or protect, he wants to be recognized for who he is at his core. When appreciation enters a relationship, it acts as an emotional oxygen. It nourishes what might otherwise wither in silence. It tells him, I see your effort, I notice your intention, you matter to me. That acknowledgement awakens something deep inside him, the part of him that wants to rise, to give, to show up more fully. Appreciation fuels that fire because it speaks to his purpose rather than his ego. Most people underestimate how subtle yet powerful genuine appreciation can be. It doesn't have to come in grand declarations or dramatic gestures. Sometimes it's as simple as a sincere thank you, a glance that says, I notice you, or a word of recognition when he least expects it. In a world where many men are conditioned to be strong, to suppress vulnerability, to constantly perform, appreciation becomes a safe space. It tells him that he doesn't need to perform to earn love. He can just be. When he feels that, something shifts. His energy softens. His defenses lower. And that's where real intimacy begins to bloom, in the quiet confidence that he is valued not for what he does, but for who he is. Appreciation is not flattery. Flattery feeds the surface. Appreciation feeds the soul. It's not about pleasing him to get something back. It's about honoring what's already there. When you appreciate a man sincerely, you mirror back his best self to him. You remind him of his worth, his strength, his tenderness. You awaken the part of him that longs to give, to protect, to connect. And when that energy is awakened, he naturally wants to reciprocate. That's the beauty of appreciation. It multiplies what it's given to. When someone feels valued, they expand. Their generosity increases. Their openness deepens. Their affection grows. It becomes a cycle of giving that feeds both people. There's a deeper psychology behind appreciation. It creates emotional safety, and safety is the root of passion. When a man feels unappreciated, he withdraws. When he feels recognized, he engages. You can see it in small ways. The way he listens more, the way he participates, the way he starts to mirror your energy. Appreciation builds trust without needing to ask for it. It's the gentle reminder that says, "I'm on your side." And that message carries power. It transforms moments of tension into moments of connection, misunderstandings into understanding. True appreciation requires awareness. You can't appreciate what you don't notice. It means paying attention to his words, his efforts, his presence. It's choosing to see the small things, to name them, to celebrate them. That act of mindful noticing becomes a bridge between hearts. It deepens connection because it turns the invisible into the visible. When a man feels that kind of appreciation, he doesn't just feel admired, he feels anchored. He feels inspired to bring more of himself into the relationship, not because he has to, but because he wants to. And that is the kind of energy that creates lasting attraction, not built on excitement alone, but on the deep satisfaction of being truly valued. Curiosity is the heartbeat of lasting intimacy, the secret ingredient that keeps love from turning into routine. It is the willingness to explore your partner as though you are meeting them for the first time over and over again. When curiosity enters a relationship, the dynamic shifts from predictability to discovery. Instead of assuming you already know who the other person is or what they like, curiosity invites you to keep learning, to keep asking, to keep noticing. It keeps the connection alive because it reminds you that there is always more beneath the surface. Every man, no matter how open or expressive he is, carries layers that even he may not have fully explored. When you approach him with curiosity instead of expectation, you create space for those hidden parts to emerge. Curiosity is not interrogation, it's fascination. It's the gentle energy that says, "I want to know what moves you, what excites you, what scares you, what makes you come alive." It transforms communication into a dance instead of a debate. It replaces assumption with attention. When a man feels that you are genuinely interested in understanding him, not to control him, but to connect with him, he relaxes into authenticity. He no longer feels the need to perform or to hide behind walls. Curiosity dissolves those walls because it carries no judgment. It's simply an invitation to reveal more of who he is. That kind of openness creates a powerful energy where vulnerability becomes attractive, not threatening. In a world where people are often too busy to truly listen, curiosity becomes one of the most seductive qualities you can embody. It's not just about asking questions. It's about listening with your whole being. It's about paying attention to the pauses, the tones, the unspoken emotions that float between the words. Curiosity turns an ordinary conversation into intimacy because it says, "You matter enough for me to pay attention." That level of presence creates a sense of safety and intrigue all at once. It builds emotional chemistry, which inevitably deepens physical chemistry. Curiosity also keeps desire alive. When you stop being curious, the relationship starts to fossilize. But when you continue exploring, even after years together, every encounter becomes an opportunity to rediscover each other. It could be in the way you ask new questions, in the way you notice new details, or in the way you explore each other's inner worlds with openness instead of assumption. Curiosity invites playfulness. It brings laughter, experimentation, and surprise. It removes the pressure of being perfect and replaces it with the joy of learning together. There's also a quiet power in being curious about yourself. When you bring self-awareness into the relationship, when you're willing to explore your own desires, your own emotions, your own triggers, you model openness. You show that curiosity is not just directed outward, but inward. This balance creates emotional maturity, which men deeply respect even if they don't articulate it. When a man experiences your curiosity as authentic, he feels honored. He senses that he's being met not as a project to be fixed, but as a mystery to be explored. And that makes him lean in rather than pull away. Curiosity turns connection into an adventure where both people become co-explorers in a landscape that's never fully mapped, always alive, always evolving. Trust is the invisible fabric that holds every form of connection together. It is not built through grand gestures, but through consistent moments where one person feels safe enough to reveal themselves to another. When a man experiences trust, he doesn't just open his heart, he opens his entire being. Trust gives permission for authenticity to exist, for masks to fall away, for the truth of who we are to emerge without fear of judgment or rejection. It's the space where vulnerability stops being a weakness and becomes the foundation of strength. In relationships, trust is not something you declare. It's something you demonstrate through reliability, emotional consistency, and presence. It's created when words and actions align, when intentions are backed by behavior, when promises are honored even in small, unseen ways. For many men, trust is a slow, growing seed. They are taught to protect themselves, to stay composed, to guard their emotions behind layers of control. When they finally encounter someone who feels emotionally safe, it's as if they exhale for the first time in a long while. Safety allows softness to emerge. It allows truth to flow. That's when intimacy deepens, not in intensity, but in depth. It's not about how often or how passionately you connect, but how real those moments become when both people feel secure enough to show who they truly are. Trust transforms connection from something fragile into something unbreakable because it's built not on fantasy, but on emotional truth. Trust is also reciprocal. You cannot expect someone to open up while you remain closed. It requires courage to be transparent, to speak your truth even when it feels uncomfortable, to communicate your fears instead of concealing them. When you express your inner world with honesty, you signal that the relationship is a safe space for honesty to exist. That, in turn, invites your partner to do the same. It becomes a cycle of mutual openness, each layer of truth encouraging the next. This mutual exposure doesn't make you weaker. It makes the bond stronger. It replaces insecurity with understanding, suspicion with empathy. But trust is not static, it's dynamic. It grows with every shared experience, every resolved conflict, every moment of compassion extended when the other person falls short. It's tested not when everything is easy, but when things get difficult. When disappointment or misunderstanding occurs, trust gives you the patience to pause, to listen, to interpret with love instead of fear. That's how it rebuilds itself, stronger each time. It's not about perfection, it's about repair. The ability to rebuild trust after it's been shaken is what separates relationships that last from those that collapse under pressure. When a man feels that kind of trust, his instinct to protect dissolves into a desire to connect. He no longer feels like he's performing a role. He becomes his truest self. His emotions stop being guarded and start being shared. He begins to feel seen not as who he thinks he should be, but as who he actually is. And when a woman embodies that same trust, when she is steady, consistent, and emotionally grounded, she becomes an anchor in his world. He may not always express it in words, but his entire energy shifts. He becomes more present, more affectionate, more open. Because at the end of it all, trust isn't just an emotional agreement. It's an energetic promise that says, "You are safe with me." Reciprocity is the rhythm of healthy connection, the silent dance that keeps energy balanced between two people. It is not about keeping score or measuring who gives more, but about the flow of exchange that allows both to feel valued, nourished, and fulfilled. In every relationship, there is an invisible current of giving and receiving. When that current moves freely, love feels effortless. But when one person begins to give without receiving or take without giving, the current slows, stagnates, and the relationship begins to lose its vitality. Reciprocity restores that balance. It's the understanding that both people contribute to the emotional ecosystem. They both bring warmth, attention, effort, and care. When a man feels that reciprocity exists, he doesn't feel drained or pressured, he feels inspired. He knows that what he gives returns to him not out of obligation, but out of genuine desire. That sense of mutuality deepens trust, passion, and respect in ways that no words can replace. Reciprocity is not transactional, it's emotional generosity. It's about showing up with the intention to add value to each other's lives, not to take from them. When both people give freely, not out of guilt, but out of abundance, the relationship begins to thrive. This flow of energy might show up in small gestures, a thoughtful text, a supportive word, a shared silence that doesn't need to be filled. It could appear in emotional effort, the willingness to listen, to understand, to adjust. When both sides invest attention and appreciation, it creates a cycle that fuels itself. The more you give from authenticity, the more you receive in return. And that cycle creates a deep sense of partnership rather than dependence. Reciprocity also requires awareness. It means being attuned not only to your own needs, but to your partner's as well. Many relationships lose their spark because people become focused on what they're not getting instead of noticing what they can give. But when you shift from taking energy to giving energy, something changes. The dynamic becomes expansive rather than constrictive. You stop waiting to be loved and start participating in love. And that shift invites your partner to respond in kind, because generosity is contagious. When one person begins to give with sincerity, the other often mirrors that energy, creating harmony instead of imbalance. At its core, reciprocity is a form of respect. It communicates, I value your time, your presence, your effort, as much as I value my own. It creates equality without competition, unity without sacrifice. In that space, both people can grow individually while staying connected collectively. It's the difference between a relationship that feels heavy and one that feels light. A man who feels reciprocity doesn't feel demanded. He feels motivated. He feels that his emotional investment has meaning. It's not just about physical or emotional exchange. It's about mutual recognition. Both people feel seen, supported, and safe. That is the foundation where love transforms from obligation to devotion, from effort to ease. Reciprocity is what turns connection into partnership, attraction into alignment, and moments into something enduring that continues to feed both souls long after the initial spark fades.